you know how often you hesitate and stop yourself? All day long. There's actually a neurological reason why change is so hard. Your brain is designed to stop you from changing. Let me explain. You see, change requires you to do things that are uncertain, scary, or new. Your brain is designed to protect you from doing things that are uncertain, scary, or new. What's your brain's favorite way to protect you? To trap you in your head by making you overthink. I've studied and interviewed the leading researchers in psychology and human behavior, and what they've taught me is that the moment you want to change, break a habit, or do something hard or scary and you hesitate, your brain goes to work to stop you. Now, there's all kinds of fancy names for this. Cognitive biases, the paradox of choice, the psychological immune system, the spotlight effect. I could name hundreds of them. You don't need to know the fancy names. You just need to know one simple fact. There is a system in your head that is stopping you every step of the way. And the 5-second rule is the only tool that you need to beat it. So how does the 5-second rule beat the system in your head? There are two explanations. First, I'm going to give you the simple one, then I'm going to explain the science. At its most basic level, the 5-second rule is a tool that helps you take action. It gets you out of your head, and that's the secret. You've got to stop thinking and start living before the system in your head has a chance to stop you. Now let's talk about the science. The 5-second rule leverages proven principles in modern psychology, and there are literally hundreds of examples that I could point to, but in this video we're just going to focus on 5 of them. First, let's talk about 2 concepts, one called locus of control, the second called a bias toward action. So a locus of control is a foundational principle in psychology. You should Google it. Back in the day, researchers figured out that there are basically 2 kinds of people. People that believe that they're in control of their lives, and folks that believe that life is just happening to them and they're a victim of whatever might happen. Now, when you look at these 2 types of people, people that have an internal locus of control, a belief that they're in control of their lives, they're happier, they're more successful, more productive. So the question becomes, how do you create an internal locus of control in yourself? The answer is simple. It's called a bias toward action. So a bias toward action is a psychological principle that means you're the kind of person that has a bias toward taking action instead of a bias toward thinking. How do you create a bias toward action? You guessed it, the 5-second rule. The 5-second rule is a tool that will teach you how to take action. And over time, as you use it, you not only learn how to take action, you become the kind of person that operates with a bias toward taking action. And when you take action over and over and over on your instincts, on your desires, on your commitments, guess what you get? You build an internal locus of control. You become the kind of person that believes that you're in control of your life because you're proving it to yourself, one 5-second decision at a time. Let's move on to topic 2, behavioral flexibility. So just a few years ago, scientists thought that our brains stopped growing at the age of about 25. What we now know is that your brain never stops growing. We have the ability to learn new things throughout an entire lifetime. We call this behavioral flexibility. One of the things that's exciting about the 5-second rule and that we see from people all over the world is that when they utilize the rule over and over and over again, they not only create immediate change in the moment with a 5-second decision, but that over time, as they repeat the new behavior, whether it's speaking up in meetings more or it is pushing yourself to exercise over and over, that you actually create new habits and become an entirely different person. This is what your brain is designed to do in terms of its neural pathways and the way that new neural pathways can develop. Every time you use the 5-second rule and 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, activate your prefrontal cortex and shift your behavior, you are not only creating immediate behavior change, over the long run, thanks to behavioral flexibility, you're creating lasting behavior change. The third principle is do good, be good. Now, this is a principle that I first learned about from legendary psychological researcher and University of Virginia professor Timothy Wilson. Basically, it means that you can't think your way to being happier or better. You actually got to do something. Now, this do good, be good philosophy dates all the way back to Aristotle, and it's based on the belief and now the proven technique that in order to change, you can't think your way to being more positive. You've got to do things, you got to act, and then your mind will follow. What is the 5-second rule? It's a tool that will help you stop thinking and start doing. Do good, be good, and then your mind will follow. The fourth principle, and that's the golden rule of habits. Now, I could spend 2 or 3 hours just talking about habit research, and whether you read Charles Duhigg's best-selling book or Gretchen Rubin's book on habits, or you watch a number of TED Talks, all researchers believe that habits come down to one golden rule, and that's this: you can never change the things that trigger you. You can't control your urges or how you might feel, but you can always choose how you behave. If you want to break a habit, once you have a habit, it's always going to be encoded in your brain. The only way that you can break it is to replace it with new behavior. There's also something in the research around habits called a starting ritual. A starting ritual is a repeated behavior that you adopt in order to trigger a new habit. The 5-second rule is so incredibly powerful when it comes to breaking old habits and adopting new ones because, number one, the 5-second rule and counting backwards, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, is a starting ritual. It will interrupt the old behavior pattern and it will trigger a new one. The 5-second rule over time, and this is really cool, actually becomes the new pattern of behavior. Instead of stopping yourself with self-doubt or blowing things off or overeating, you have a new pattern of behavior. You catch yourself, you gain control, you have confidence, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and you do the thing that you know you want to do. And finally, the principle called activation energy. Now, activation energy is something that was first introduced into the field of human behavior and psychology several decades ago by a rock star professor at the University of Chicago that studied a state of flow. His name was Mihai Csikszentmihalyi, and he was one of the first really to study human behavior, human performance, and he coined this term activation energy. He actually borrowed it from chemistry. And it's a term that describes this phenomenon. In order to start any kind of chemical reaction, it takes a tremendous amount of energy to create that initial spark. A lot more energy to start it than to keep it going. There's a direct correlation to you and me. Have you ever noticed how hard it is to just get started? How hard it is to get to the gym? How hard it is to get out of bed? How hard it is to put down the bottle when you go to pour a second drink and you know you shouldn't? That feeling, how hard it is to get started, this is what Mihai's talking about. You need activation energy to start the chain, to start to sit down, to start to get out of bed, to start to walk out the door. That's the key to creating any kind of change. This activation energy inside of you that causes the initial boom. And then what do we hear over time? Once you start, there's a chain reaction, and that allows you to keep going. So what's this have to do with the 5-second rule? Freaking everything. The 5-second rule creates activation energy in you. The 5-second rule is how you activate change inside of you. It is a tool. When you start counting 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, you awaken your prefrontal cortex. You begin the process of changing. You push yourself in a new direction. That first push, that's going to be the hardest. Once you get moving, it gets so much easier. So those are just 5 psychological, scientific principles that explain the power of the 5-second rule. What is an anchor thought? An anchor thought is an extremely powerful and proven way for you to take control of what you're thinking about when your mind starts to spiral. And an anchor thought is any thought that makes you excited, happy. Think positive emotions here. I'm going to give you examples, don't worry. An anchor thought is something that you have predetermined and planned in advance that you're going to go to in your mind and picture. This is like a form of visualization in a situation where normally you feel anxiety. And you're going to use this practice of having a predetermined anchor thought in situations that make you nervous or anxious to go to as a method to anchor yourself down, to calm down your body, and to take control of what you're thinking about in situations that normally make you anxious. So let me give you a couple examples of what an anchor thought is and why you want to do them before a situation. So you can use anchor thoughts for everything from anchoring yourself in a positive vision as you're getting out of bed and thinking about the day ahead. And instead of letting your worries, anxiety, overwhelm, and nerves about dealing with your boss or facing the conflict in your house or whatever it may be, hijack your mind, you're going to anchor yourself in something positive and exciting about today. And if you can't think of anything positive and exciting about today, I'm going to coach you through that. Don't worry. If you have anxiety about work, you're going to anchor down on a moment from your past or a moment that you're excited about in your future that made you happy or excited. If you have anxiety about school, I want you to think about a thing about school that you like. One person, one teacher, one moment in your past where you did really good because you put in the effort and you got a really good grade on a test, or you felt really excited about what you were learning. And your anchor thought is going to be, I'm so excited to feel that way again. I'm going to give you a very specific example now. So I use anchor thoughts to deal with. I used to be an incredibly nervous flyer. I was convinced that if I got on a plane, I was going to die in a plane crash. And for the entire week leading up to getting on a plane, I would be nervous about it. I would be thinking about it. I would be thinking about sending, like if we were going away for the holidays, I would be thinking about sending the presents ahead via the mail in case the plane crashed. I'd be doing all kinds of I was like a nutcase about this. And so the way that I started using anchor thoughts in order to change the way that I thought and felt on a plane is this. I would think about, before I got on a plane, I would think about something that I was excited to do once I got to the place that I was flying to. So for example, tomorrow I am flying to Vegas, and I'm going to think about a particular restaurant that I love in Vegas, and I'm going to think about what I'm going to order when I get to that restaurant, and I'm going to think about how delicious it's going to taste, and this person, my friend Mo, that I'm going to see. And so I've got my anchor thought, which makes me happy and excited, what I'm going to do when I get to Vegas. And when I get on that plane, and if I start to get nervous and my stomach starts to rumble and my body starts to feel anxious and my thoughts start to spiral, I immediately start saying to myself, I am so excited to get to Vegas and to go to that restaurant and to see my friend Mo, and notice I'm closing my eyes because I'm visualizing it. And I'm visualizing how happy I'm going to be when I see her. And that very specific, positive, excited, happy visualization of what I'm going to do when I get to Vegas, it settles my body, having that in my mind. It focuses my mind on something positive. And by using an anchor thought to weigh me down in terms of weigh down what I'm thinking about, and direct my body sensations to be positive, something crazy happens. When the plane's flying and we hit turbulence, and normally I'd be like, oh my God, we're about to die. Oh, what's happening? What's happening? I interrupt that anxiety response and that worry, and I go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, using the 5-second rule, and awakening my prefrontal cortex. And then I literally just go, I'm so excited to be at that restaurant tonight to see my friend Mel. And here's what happens in my body. By taking control of my thinking, I change my body state. I've directed my thoughts. I've won the mental game. And my mind goes, oh, yeah, she's excited. And here's what's really interesting about it. Normally, if I were on a plane and I got nervous, the plane starts to bounce, right? So what happens? Immediately your mind starts to worry. Then your body starts to feel anxious because your mind is so busy worrying about whether or not the plane makes it. And then because your body is now starting to get anxious and you got a pit in your stomach and your armpits are starting to sweat and your heart is starting to race, the body sensations that were caused by your mind thinking worries are now getting worse, and now the worries get worse. So it becomes this self-fulfilling thing. And you actually make yourself miserable. You cause the anxiety from your thoughts. And then your body, in the anxiety response, then causes your thoughts to get even worse. And it becomes worse and worse and worse until you're hyperventilating or convinced you're going to die, or you start crying, or whatever it may be. You can interrupt that and win the mental game and take control. I'm not kidding you, by deciding to. And you can say, I'm 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I'm not going to think about dying right now. And first of all, it's not going to help. I mean, I'm not flying the plane, so I'm going to take control of what I'm thinking about so I'm not miserable as we're flying. And drop in the anchor thought. Anchoring you down. Even the word anchoring has a strength to it. Instead of your thoughts drifting all over the place, you're anchoring down and you're making your mind do exactly what you want it to do. And what I want it to do is to think about what I'm excited about when I get to Vegas. Because here's the thing about it. If I go to that restaurant and I see my friend Mo, obviously the plane made it. And so one of the other things that's powerful about an anchor thought is because your anchor thoughts relate to what you're doing, it makes sense to your brain, so your brain believes it. So going back to the example of work, think of a moment when you were proud. School, think of a moment when you were proud. And tell yourself, I'm excited to feel that way again, or I'm excited to do well on this test, or I'm excited to learn what I'm going to learn, or I'm excited to have this conversation with my professor, or get this test over with and feel good again. And because the anchor thought that you're creating is related to what you're doing, it is going to make sense to your brain, your body will settle, you're going to get control of your mind, and that is how you win the mental game. You notice when your thoughts drift, you notice when the worries are starting, and you, boom, cut it off with an anchor thought. Let me give you another example, and then we're going to go into questions. Because what I want you to do for every single trigger you have, we had you yesterday in video 14 go through your day and come up with every single trigger that triggers your thoughts to spiral to the negative. Now what we're going to do is we're going to use the power and the science of anchor thoughts, something that we can think of that you can anchor down on that is positive, happy, exciting, encouraging, about somehow related to the thing that's triggering you. And I'm going to walk you through some examples. I want to give you another one, though, for those of you that have kids that are watching. So when my son, our son was younger, he used to be completely anxious about sleepovers. There was just something about sleepovers that really freaked him out. And so before sleepovers, we would come up with an anchor thought that was related to the sleepover itself. So what are you excited to do in the morning? Now, notice I said the morning. The reason why we would always do the mornings is because he wasn't nervous about starting the sleepover. He was nervous about completing it. So we came up with an anchor thought that was about what he was excited to be doing in the morning. Were they going to make pancakes? Were they going to lay around and play Fortnite? And that anchor thought about what made him excited about what he was going to do in the morning it was his go-to. So as we were driving over and he'd start to look at me and go, I don't know, Mom, I'm a little nervous. I'm like, great, let's go to the anchor thought. And he's like, okay, here we go. I'm really excited to have pancakes because she makes great pancakes. Great, that's great. And then all of a sudden his body stations would drop down. The other thing that I would recommend that you do with kids is come up with the anchor thought for all the things that trigger them, and also come up with a plan B. So a plan B is, okay, so you've got your anchor thought, my dear. You're excited about the pancakes. If it's 9 o'clock at night and you start to get that rumbling feeling in your stomach and you start to get worried about being at the sleepover, no problem. You're going to use your anchor thought, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I'm so excited for pancakes in the morning. And that's going to settle your stomach, and it's also going to distract your thoughts and direct them and anchor them. And that should start to take care of the rumbling feelings in your stomach, and that should start to take care of the things that are making you nervous. And then what we're going to do is you're also going to have a plan B. So with our son, for example, and this is important with anxiety, always go to the worst case scenario and plan out, okay, so let's say the worst case scenario happens. Let's say you decide you can't make it through the night. No problem. Just call me and I'll come get you. So that you're taking away worries. If you have to talk to your boss and you got your anchor thought, you're really excited. Here's another thing. If you obsess about getting fired, you obsess about being made wrong, come up with like your plan B, which is like, okay, I've got my thing. I'm so excited to go in there. I'm so excited to actually say what I need to say. I'm so excited for the situation to change. I'm so excited to make a difference with my work. And my ultimate plan B, let's say I get fired tomorrow for speaking what I speak. What's the first thing I'm going to do? What's my plan if that happens? I'm going to collect my stuff. I'm going to say goodbye to my friends. And I'm going to go home and I'm going to look for a job. That's what's going to happen. Because if you go to the worst case scenario and you make a plan for what you're going to do, it's another way to sort of backstop your mind from catastrophizing. If you struggle like me to sit down every morning, close your eyes, and meditate, I've got some great news for you. That's not the only form of meditation. The traditional form of meditation, crisscross applesauce, it's not the only way to practice mindfulness. There are 3 things you can do to find moments of meditation throughout your day. And if you do them consistently, it's going to have really similar benefits. Number 1, hobbies that you enjoy can be a moment of meditation. If they're active hobbies where you're strictly focused on the task at hand while you're doing something, like adult coloring books, cooking, knitting, going for a run, walking in the woods without listening to anything. Believe it or not, research even shows that Tetris is a powerful form of meditation. What doesn't count is sitting passively watching TV. But hobbies that focus your mind on a task creates moments of meditation. Now, a second form of practicing a moment of meditation is to simply laser focus in on some detail in the present moment. For example, pull your attention to the present moment and focus on something around you, like holding a cup of coffee and noticing how warm it is in your hands. Or I do this all the time. I stand in line at a grocery store and I pay attention to my breathing and I clench my stomach. Or you could eat a handful of almonds, one by one, and notice how each singular almond tastes different from the others. Taking a moment of meditation through the day is a simple way to train your mind to come back to the present moment. And here's a third way that you can practice being mindful without meditating. Create a positive trigger that brings your attention to the present moment. It could be every time I walk through a doorway, I'm going to take a deep breath. You might want to set an alarm on your phone that goes off and says, stay in the moment. You want to know my trigger? Whenever I catch myself slouching, I realize I'm slouching and I take a minute and I pull my shoulders back and I roll my neck and I take a deep belly breath and I'm right back in the moment. So stop beating yourself up for not being a monk or a yoga instructor or a meditation guru and give yourself a break. Just practice moments of meditation. So let me tell you what the brain hack is. We're going to read from chapter 7 today. For those of you that like to read along, we're on page 87 of the High Five Habit. I'm going to read this chapter to you and I'm going to teach it to you, okay? Today I'm going to teach you how to create, with a really simple hack, a more positive mind. And it has to do with this. What is this? Anybody know what this is? Anybody know what this is? This is a heart-shaped rock, okay? You want to see another one? Here's another one, a heart-shaped rock. Every single day, I have a simple hack. Every single day, when I wake up, I play this game. It's now a habit where I look for a heart shape somewhere in nature. It could be a heart-shaped rock. It could be a cloud. It could be a crystal. It could be a shape on a spot on a dog. It could be an oil stain on the floor of a garage. It could be anything. But I look for a heart shape as a way to train my mind. And I do it because I want to prove to you. And by the time we're done with today's teaching, chapter 7 is what I'm going to read to you today. I want you to promise me that you are going to look for a heart shape somewhere in nature today, wherever you are in the world. A puddle, perfect. Anything that you see out there. Right now I can look out at the tree. The mountain kind of looks like a heart, I notice right there. That's pretty cool. I want you to look around today and I want you to see hearts. I want you to look for one. And here's why. There's a filter in your brain called the reticular activity system. Okay, I write about it extensively in the High Five Habit. Your whole life has programmed the filter in your brain. All of the negative experiences in your life has taught your brain to filter the world in a particular way. And what I'm here to tell you, and what I'm going to teach you today, is that once you understand your reticular activity system, it's like a filter on your brain that is alive. It's a network of neurons that's constantly shifting and changing and responding based on the information that you tell your brain is important to you. If you don't believe me, how many of you have ever wanted a new car? For me right now, I'm obsessed with the new Bronco. I want one of those 4-door color green Broncos. I know there's a year-long wait list. I know I need to get on it. I love the new Ford Bronco. Once I decided I love that new Ford Bronco, what do you guys think I saw everywhere? All the time, all over the road. I see Broncos everywhere. And the reason why is because your reticular activity system, which is a live filter on your brain, it responds in real time to whatever you say is important to it. And so just like me saying, oh my God, I love that new Bronco. I want a new Bronco. I got to buy a new Bronco. I got to get on the list for a new Bronco. I see Broncos freaking everywhere. Now, I'm not sure I want one because it seems like everybody has one. You know what I'm saying? I want you to play this game with me where every day when you wake up, and you can start doing it today, I want you to look for a naturally occurring heart shape. And the second you see one, I want you to go, oh my God, there's a heart-shaped rock, just like Mel was talking. There's a heart-shaped leaf. There's a heart-shaped something. Holy shit. There it is. And the reason why I want you to do this is because when you notice it, holy cow, when you take a photo of it, your brain starts to go, whoa, you're really into hearts. And the filter in your brain changes in real time and it allows in more heart shapes. The reason why I'm explaining this to you, and I want you to use this little hack, is because if I can prove to you that by simply telling your brain that you want to see more heart shapes in the world, if you experience your own brain changing the way it filters the world in real time, then you will believe what I'm going to say next, which is, if you want to change how you feel, if you want to change what you believe is possible, you must change how you talk to yourself, because your brain is filtering the world based on how you talk to yourself. And chapter 7 of the High Five Habit proves to you that this little hack of looking for hearts, everybody, every single day, naturally occurring hearts, and realizing that your own mind will change and is flexible in real time to change how it filters the world, When you realize the power of your mind, you will make it a priority to speak to yourself differently, to talk differently about what you want in life and how you think about yourself, because what you say matters, because your brain is paying attention. So chapter 7 is entitled, Why Am I Suddenly Seeing Hearts Everywhere? And so I'm going to skip around a little bit because I haven't read from this in a while. And basically, you jump into chapter 7, and it's a scene where I'm talking to our daughters at dinner. And our daughters are basically explaining that they hate their mindset. One of our daughters like, why do I always beat myself up and think I'm a bad person? And our other daughter's like, why do I always think I'm the ugliest one at the bar? And so I'm explaining to them, if you want to change this opinion that you have, that I'm a bad person or I'm the ugliest one of all my friends, I explained to them the Bronco example that I just gave you. And then I said to them that your brain can change the way you see the world in real time. This is so exciting, you guys. And if you say, I'm a bad person, how many of you say that to yourself? I'm such a bad person. I always screw up. Nothing works out for me. If you say, I'm a bad person, isn't it true that you see things every single day that make you think it's true? And then our daughter said, yeah, actually, yesterday I missed my dentist appointment. I just completely forgot about it. And as soon as I realized I blew off the dentist appointment, totally forgot, the first thing I said to myself was, there I go again, screwing everything up. And I said, look, that's an excellent example. Imagine if instead of missing the dentist appointment, imagine if when you miss the dentist appointment, how many of you have missed a dentist appointment? I know I have. How amazing would it be if you missed the dentist appointment and you could just shrug your shoulders and go, oops, forgot the dentist appointment, without going, see, I screw everything up, and pounding yourself into the ground and beating yourself up. Imagine if you could teach your own mind, everybody, to not see all the stuff that's happening in life as evidence that you're a bad person. Because you can forget a dentist appointment and just let it pass through your mind without attaching, I'm a bad person, to what happened. You have to be deliberate. You have to tell your mind exactly what you want to think about yourself when things mess up. So my daughter looks at me, this is a true story, and is like, really? How the hell do I do that, Mom? I've been telling myself I'm a bad person and I screw everything up for as long as I can remember. How the hell am I going to get my mind to think something else? And this is when I hit her with the heart rock game that I'm telling you, you got to steal this hack from me. I said, well, let's train your mind by playing a simple game that's going to change the way that your mind works in real time. And I said, every single day, I want you to look for a naturally occurring heart shape in the world, whether it's a heart-shaped rock, a heart-shaped leaf, a heart-shaped oil stain on the floor of your garage, a heart-shaped swirl of milk on the top of your latte, anything counts. And then my daughter said, you mean the way you're always looking for heart-shaped rocks when we walk on the beach, Mom? And I said, yep. And you know what she said to me? She said, Mom, that is the stupidest thing I've ever heard. I said, my other daughter then said, I agree. How the hell does looking for hearts stop me from feeling like the ugliest one of all my friends? I want you to teach me how to be happy and how to be successful and how to make a lot of money in my new career, Mom. I mean, you're a self-help person. How the hell do rocks on the ground help me change my opinion of myself? Fair question, right? Don't worry, I had a great answer. I said, look, the point of the exercise of every day, I want you to look for a heart shape, like a heart-shaped rock in the world. The point of this, everybody, is to train your mind to spot the things that you're blocking out so you can prove to yourself that you can make your brain work for you by simply telling you what's important to you. And if you want to make a lot of money, you better train your brain to see opportunities and deals that other people walk right by, just like you walk by that stupid rock on the ground that's laying there right now. And you miss it because you're not looking for it. And if you want to stop thinking you're bad or hating the way you look, you better train your mind to stop attaching that thought to everything you see. Pretty smart, right? If you'd like to make more money, you got to spot opportunities to make more money. If you want to feel better about yourself, everybody, you got to stop pounding yourself into the ground with negative thoughts anytime life doesn't go 100% your way or you screw up, which is totally normal. I could tell they were considering my argument. So I went even further. Besides, oh, there goes the clock. Hold on a second. And feel free to ask questions in the comments. This is a short chapter, okay? Besides, if I told you, everybody, to just repeat a positive mantra, I'm beautiful, I'm a good person, you'd think this is stupid because you don't believe that. So first, I got to show you the power that you have to change what your mind sees. Then you're going to trust what I'm saying. You see, good people mess up all the time. It doesn't make you a bad person. And even if you are a bad person at times, why does that make you unlovable? See, it's all about the way you flip the things you look at so that you can see a world that makes you feel empowered and supported. Imagine how much easier and fulfilling it would be if you could stop the beatdown and just love yourself while you work on your health goals. Now, let me tell you how to do the heart-shaped exercise. You guys ready? Okay, good. Starting tomorrow, super easy, or today, starting today. I want you to find one naturally occurring heart shape in the world around you. Then stop and take a look at it. Here's mine. Every day when I go for a walk, if you follow me on my stories, you will see that I take photos all day long of heart shapes. This is the kind of thing that trains your mind. I'm getting asked for a meditation on manifesting. Yeah. Looking for a heart shape every single day in the world around you is a way to manifest because you are practicing a skill. You're practicing a skill of waking up and intentionally saying, I am going to find a heart shape today. You are putting that intention into your mind. And by putting it into your mind, you are training your mind to work for you. Now we're going to take it a level up. You ready? When you find something, I want you to stop. I want you to take a moment. I want you to take a photo of it. Oops, my phone, my computer just died, so we're going to stay on Instagram. I want you to take a photo of it. And I want you to really feel that was placed there for you. I want you to close your eyes and I want you to have an experience whereby you feel that literally the universe had put something there for you and your mind helped you find it. And if you take that moment and you feel a moment of gratitude, what's going to happen is that energetic, positive experience of acknowledging that you told yourself you were going to find a heart shape. And then your mind scanned and you found it. And now you're taking a moment to feel grateful that this happened, to be present to the larger forces that are out there. And then take a photo, put it on your story, tag me, Mel Robbins, tag High Five Habit. And you will be shocked. Because what will happen is because you took a moment to positively encode it in your brain will start showing you hearts all over the place. You're not going to believe the amount of hearts that you walk past. I'm dead serious about this. These are just a few examples on page 91. I repost these all day long from you guys. There's a heart in a coffee cup. There's a heart right here that's a leaf. We've got a heart. One of my favorite ones was inside of an onion. We see rocks all the time. I'm looking for this stuff. That's on page 91. I just realized that we lost our friends on Facebook because your imperfect friend, Mel Robbins, forgot to plug her computer in. So we lost power. Oh, well. Done is better than perfect. And simply showing up here today and making a little bit of progress instead of waiting for it to get perfect is better than not doing it at all. And so here's what I want to do. I want to give you some ways to think about productivity that you might not be thinking about right now. Because the fact of the matter is, when I hear the word productivity, I don't want you to think about plowing through a to-do list.
Because part of the reason why you don't feel productive is because you're busy doing the things that aren't important to you. Yeah, do you need to make sure you have milk or you got almond milk or oat milk in the fridge? Of course you do. But have you ever noticed that all the busy crap in life tends to take care of itself? That you don't really need to focus your time and energy on the minutia that's on your to-do list, because that stuff tends to grab your attention. What you really need to do is figure out how to create time and how to create the focus that you need in order to feel like you are making progress on the important things. And that's really what productivity means to me. You get all kinds of stuff done. You're really busy in your life, aren't you? But are you getting progress made on the important things? Probably not, because that's the challenge for most of us. And so first things first, when it comes to trying to have a breakthrough in productivity, you need a game plan. You need to have a very short list every week of what actually matters to you, okay? Because I guarantee you, if you were to do an audit of the way that you spend your time this week, you would probably see that 95% of your time is spent on things that you really don't care about. And even more scary, I bet you don't even realize how much time you are wasting just mindlessly scrolling through social media or sitting on the couch with the TV on, also answering emails. That is the least productive way to spend your time. Multitasking, spending your time just sort of zoning out on things that don't matter. What I want you to do is I want you right now to think about, what is it between now and the end of this week, for example? What is it that matters to you? What's the most important thing that you would love to make progress on that you never seem to find the time? Okay? It's a whole nother conversation for us to talk about whether or not you actually have time, because the fact is you do have time. You have plenty of time to make small amount of progress every single day on what matters to you. What you do not have right now is you do not have a plan for prioritizing the important stuff in your life. So I wanted to give you a survival guide for how to survive living at home with family members who are unsettled, angry, pissed off, frustrated, and creating chaos. First of all, the number one thing that I have learned is that validating feelings is the only thing that works. So when your kids get angry because what they're seeing on social media is their idiot friends whose families have decided to go on spring break and they're sitting on the beach and now they're yelling about it and yelling at you and why couldn't we validate their feelings? Don't argue with them. Just validate. I get it. That is hard. Yeah, it isn't fair. Yeah, I'm sorry that your spring break got ripped away from you. I'm sad that mine did too. It sucks. That's it. Just validate their feelings, because validating their feelings is the only thing that will calm and settle their feelings down. You can ask them how they're feeling. Are you angry? What are you angry about? Who are you angry at? What are you angry about? I think that is the number one thing that a lot of the kids are feeling right now. They're feeling angry that all of this has suddenly changed. The second thing that you can do to survive living with your families after you validate your feelings is understand that once everybody's feelings settle down and we stop reacting at the new normal, people will be able to settle in to the new normal. This is where patience comes in. So you're going to validate their feelings, and you've got to have some patience, because it's going to take your kids a little bit of time to settle down their feelings and settle into the new normal. It's going to take everybody some time. So patience, patience, patience. Now is not the time to helicopter. Now is not the time to scream at your kids because they're leaving things all over the place. Their feelings are so unraveled, you guys, that patience is the best thing. So last night, for example, Chris and I went to bed earlier than the kids, and we probably went to bed around 9:30. When I woke up this morning, because the kids stayed up, they were doing a Harry Potter marathon. I walked into the kitchen. There must have been 17 articles of clothing from the living room to the kitchen to the front stairs. I don't know if these kids disrobed on the way to the stairs or what the hell was going on. But I had that immediate reaction because now there's chaos, because my routine without the whole family here is before I go to bed, I sort of tidy everything up so that when I wake up and I walk into the living room and the kitchen, there's not a mess to clean up. It's just my kind of thing. So walking out this morning to make my cup of coffee and seeing the living room and the kitchen look like there had been some sort of kindergarten romper room play date that happened. There was a bag of Doritos that had been eaten and was open, and there were chips all over the couch. There were turned over glasses. I don't know what kind of party these kids were throwing, but the place was a disaster. Instead of screaming, I just collected everything, put it in piles right by the front door. I put the dirty dishes in the sink. I am practicing patience, and I am giving my kids a chance to settle down their emotions before they settle into the new routine. The third thing that has started to work in our family is, since your kids are reacting to the fact that they've lost their independence, which is really the big thing. Like, they'll get over the expectations of not going on spring break and the expectation that college is canceled. They're really going to struggle with the fact that they've lost their independence and they've lost connection with their friends face to face. And so you have to give them some independence back. And one way that you can give your kids independence back is tell them that they need to create their own schedule. So I guarantee you, if you've got kids at home, they're going to have to start taking classes online. They're going to have to figure out how to get themselves organized. And so one way to give them independence is not micromanage when they wake up, not micromanage when they eat. I'm talking about teenagers and adults and adult kids here. Give them the independence to create their own schedule. Now, you're going to have to sit with them and tell them they're going to need to do it. And you should ask them leading questions. So what time do you think you should get up? How are you going to manage your homework? And you'll be surprised that they will be able to create a schedule. Because guess what? They've been doing it at school. They've been doing it at college. They've been doing it in their own lives. And so prompt them to create their own schedule. It'll give them some independence. Here's the fourth thing. Instead of helicoptering them and telling them what to do, ask your kids what they need. So we did this last night. It was our son Oakley's 15th birthday. And after we celebrated his birthday, I just went around the table and said, hey, I know classes are going to start next week. I know you guys are settling in to being back at home. It's not what you want, but what do you guys need? What do you need so that your room can be your own? What do you need so that you're set up to be able to take classes? And here's what I was really surprised to hear. They all had an answer. Our daughter Sawyer, who's a junior at Boston College, she said, I need a desk. I don't have a desk in my room. And I was like, oh, you're right. And then I said, well, why don't you just use the gaming room where Oakley has his video games? And she said, well, then he's going to be pissed at me. And I also have to study in a place that's super quiet. And so she was able to express what she needed. She also said that she wanted support from my husband in making sure she works out. So again, instead of barking orders, ask your kids for what they need. You will be surprised. They know themselves well. You did a really good job. And now by asking them, you will be able to do a good job in supporting them. And here's the fifth final thing to surviving living with your family under one roof right now, particularly with teenagers. You have to be flexible on all things. You have to be flexible on all things because things are going to change.
When school classes go online, the first week is going to be really, as Mindy, my producer, says, hinky. Things are going to be bumpy. The technology is going to be new. Your kids are going to have to figure out how to focus in their living room. For those of you that have been working out by streaming at home, I found it's really hard to stay focused on exercising when I'm in my living room because I'm distracted by everything. So next week, super flexible, except for one thing. And this is your North Star today. I'm going to give you a North Star every day. One simple thing to do that will walk you toward greater control, greater feelings of being grounded, and a greater sense that you are making this unique moment in time an opportunity. Here is your North Star. This is the one thing I do not want you to be flexible on. This is the thing to start today. You always have a family dinner. Starting today, I want you to have a family dinner every night. And family dinners are so important because it's a moment where you all come together and get connected. And it brings me to the quote for today. The quote for today, and I know that you're going to resonate with this. Some of the most important conversations I've ever had in my life occurred at my family's dinner table. You have a chance to make this moment a moment where you connect more deeply with your family than you ever have before. And if you have just one thing that is consistent in everybody's routine, it's that we all gather around the table together. And it's a moment where you can connect with each other. You can ask your kids for what they need. You can validate their feelings. You can check in. You can brainstorm. If you're alone somewhere, that's okay. Use video conferencing and have family meals every night with your family. Hey, it's Mel. Thank you so much for checking this video out. And if you like this one, I have a feeling you're going to like this one too. I'll see you there.